Our next speakers are both from the Art Gallery of Ontario. First we have Mark Mckay, after whom we will have Keri Ryan, speaking on, I believe, two different topics from that organization. Related different topics. As one would guess. And nice to meet you, Keri.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. Today, we're talking about transparency and innovation and how we leverage technology to improve processes and create a visitor-first experiences and form a single source of truth at the Art Gallery of Ontario. I'm Mark Mckay, and I'm the Director of Digital, and I'm joined here today by my colleague, Keri Ryan, our Director of Interpretation and Visitor Research. Our colleague, Latherine Nip, was supposed to join us here today, but unfortunately, she was unable to attend. I joined the AGO in January of 2016 after a career in advertising, television, and higher education to execute our technology strategy, which was developed by our former Chief Business Officer, along with our board and staff, with input from senior digital leaders from across our great city. It's a great strategy that's focused on infrastructure, including new Wi-Fi in our building. The Wi-Fi at the AGO currently is terrible, and there's dead zones all across the gallery, including in staff areas, which are total dead zones, and also to redesign our website to be mobile first. The last time we redesigned our website was in 2008. We updated our theme in 2011, but the CMS and the structure of the website is a total mess. Nothing is set up canonically correct. We can't aggregate analytics by any section of the site, and this is creating a poor user experience when navigating through the site. Another strategy within our technology strategy is to create greater access to content, including putting our collection online. Up until now, we have only put up a few objects in special collections, but there's no efficient or strategic solution for putting our collections online. We've also decided to invest in storytelling. We have a blog and lots of web pages, but no content strategy or thought on how we would use content to convince and convert audiences to take action. And finally, we want to use data better so that we can personalize our offerings through email and CRM, as well as to make data-driven decision-making so that we can optimize our spends and better connect with our audiences. The responsibility for building the infrastructure to support these goals has fell on the web services team. The team is made up of two developers, 2 user experience designers, and an interactive developer and project manager. In the years leading up to my arrival, the web team has essentially become a service department to the organization, maintaining outdated and cumbersome tools. The team was really at a maximum capacity with little time to take on new projects. And in order to create the space to move our museum forward, we knew that we needed to change the way we were doing things so that we had this greater capacity for the projects. The first thing we did was to focus on creating better ways of communicating. Work requests would generally come into a catch-all email, webteam@ago.net, and deliver to all of the members on the team. There's no system for assigning work, and the team would just cherry pick whatever they wanted to work on. And there was no way of letting other people on the team know who was doing what, or keeping track of the progress of a product, or communicating, or a protocol for communicating back with our clients. This led to many issues when people would go on vacation or sick, and clients would want a status update on a project, and everything was stuck in a single person's inbox with, and the rest of the team had no line of sight into what was the progress of a task or what had been promised. There was also an issue with duplication of effort, where 2 people might be working on the same task without any communication, and it really just became really difficult for managing our team. This created a very frustrating environment, and it was very difficult for managing. And so to solve this issue, we implemented Jira, a team-based project management software solution that uses a Kanban board for moving tasks through a workflow. Has anyone here used a Kanban system like Jira or Trello? Yeah, they're fantastic. And with Jira, we have the with Jira this Kanban tool, which has been popularized by Toyota to improve efficiency, is really helped us in assigning and prioritizing tasks, and has given us the ability to leave comments for one another on the status of projects, as well as move tasks through that workflow, sending emails out to requesters who have sent us who have sent the tasks through our forms. All of the communications that have been related to these tasks are captured within Jira. So if our team is emailing out to people, it all creates this central repository. And it's made the work of our teams more transparent so that everyone across the team can see what each other is working on, and the workflow creating better communication. It's also created a self-governing system so that if someone's working on something that isn't a priority project within the department, we can call each other out or provide additional context on a task. And it's also allowed us to focus on each other's strengths and create learning opportunities and information sharing. The second tactic that we leveraged to create greater capacity within our team was to migrate to simpler tools. Over 40% of our time was spent updating web pages, and this could be something as simple as editing a sentence on a page or adding a picture or creating a basic page. The second biggest time suck on the team was creating and editing emails. I remember there was one time where there were 19 emails back and forth with edits to a single email involving 3 different departments. Our level of involvement in both of these tasks was so great because the tools we used are so cumbersome that other people across the organization couldn't use them because of the level of technical know-how required. The amount of effort the amount of effort for this to create a single email or web page was a tremendous waste of resources within our organization. So we consciously made the decision to migrate to simpler tools and create templates and training so that instead of compiling feedback and sending it to my team to make updates, our clients could directly edit or create their own web pages and emails. Both of these tactics, transparency and project management and simplifying the processes and tools, empowered staff to take action. Transparency and project management improved communication on our web team and created a self-governing system whereby everybody knows what everyone else is doing. Our simplified content management systems for both the web and email marketing have reduced the amount of effort it takes to complete simple tasks and help to propagate a digital culture across our organization. Now, instead of sitting with our web team to enter courses or events into our systems, our education officers and staff across the gallery can easily edit and enter content themselves. Now our web team has the greater capacity to focus on projects that move our museum forward, and we've taken an agile approach to the redesign of our website, working in sprints, and have rolled out a new homepage, basic pages, visit section, courses, calendar, and exhibitions. And in the coming weeks, we'll release the second version of our online collection, which contains all of the objects that are on display in our gallery. Data management is at the core of our content and collection management system, which we affectionately call the CCMS. Our CCMS is open source and built on top of Drupal. And we chose Drupal because it's maintained by a community of users and because the development and the skills related to it are in high demand. We wanted to ensure that the technology we chose could be easily resourced against so that we could bring on external contractors or replace or expand our team if necessary. With Drupal, we're able to create content types for the different types of content that we feature on our website, including exhibitions, events, courses, hours, and more. And the Drupal content types allow us to create once and publish everywhere, what we call COPE. With COPE, we have a single source of truth for each piece of content, whether it's the hours in our shop are open or all of our children's courses. In this way, we only ever have to update a piece of information once, and it's updated everywhere, no matter where it's published, on our website, mobile apps, kiosks, or in-gallery interactives. Inherent in this system is an API, which allows us to pick and choose which information we want to display and where, meaning that we can display different views of information on different platforms. We can, for example, create a mobile site that's specific to our front of house staff so that they can answer questions, or pull all of our events and courses and exhibitions related to holidays to create a special page. COPE with its single source of truth and API facilitate easy, scalable innovation. On the web, we've created a series of widgets like photo galleries, slideshows, and grids of objects from our collection, among other things. And these widgets are effectively Lego blocks that, combined with COPE, we can quickly create web pages without the need to manually enter content. And this innovation isn't limited to the web. Over the years, we've developed a series of one-off in-gallery interactives to support our exhibitions, including iPad flipbooks or games and touchscreen tables. And we're now in the process of updating these so that they can speak to our COPE API so that we can scale these technologies across our galleries. The COPE API and Drupal will also allow us to easily create a view of our website focused over the in-gallery experience, which we can package using a technology like Adobe's PhoneGap to create a new mobile app without the need to pay a monthly fee to a vendor to license their platform. And we can also use it to power kiosks in our galleries. At the outset of our digital transformation, we set a goal for ourselves to share our technologies with others so that they could benefit from our investments. We've created a consortium of museums and galleries in Canada who've signed on to partner with us to adapt our system so that its innovations can be, so that it and the innovations it spawn can be used by a wider group. It's our desire to create a community of users around these products so that we can reduce the cost of supporting technology across all of our respective museums, and that we can benefit from each other's investments and innovations. Included in this program is a research study on the best use of technology in museums and galleries, led by my colleague Keri. And if you're interested in partnering with us on the CCMS or the research innovation, please come talk to us after this presentation or find us here at the conference. Up next, my colleague Keri will share with you the role of visitor language in shaping the user experience.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to talk a little bit about the work we did to help the website get into shape for the visitors. And I think there's been some gifs behind me. The one that I have on my screen really exemplifies the way that our website felt from a user's perspective. So as soon as Mark showed up, I think he probably looked at our website probably before you came and you were like, oh my God, what's going on here? And I had been saying the same thing as someone who's leading interpretation in the gallery. I do the evaluation piece, but we really hadn't had any interactions with the website. And I knew with our terrible Wi-Fi, we weren't really able to deliver anything digitally in the galleries with any success. So as soon as Mark said he was going to make the website changes, I was like, great, we're gonna work together. We're gonna get on board. And you know, as things move on, suddenly the time gets really tight, and we didn't have a lot of time for our user experience testing, which we'd imagined, but we decided to do it anyway. So I think what I wanted to talk about a little bit about was just that sort of shortcuts, I think I would probably say, for doing this, because I think a lot of people said to me, oh, you don't have time to do that kind of work. It's not feasible. And I thought, no, I think we can probably make this work. So I had seen a really great online survey that the Te Papa Tongarewa Museum had put on their homepage, and I said, those are 3 great questions. I'm going to ask those on our website. So we were able to ask them, garnered 708 respondents in 3 weeks. We really got a sense of, okay, why are visitors coming to our site immediately? That there wasn't a lot of effort or anxiety around doing that. The second thing we really wanted to do is understand the information architecture. So if anyone had visited the AGO's website a year ago, you would have seen 1,000 things on the website. There were just every person in the entire museum wanted their element profiled. So it was just this zoo of content. Nobody knew what anything was. All the language was really insider based, so we had tons of words up there that nobody really understood. So in doing we decided, okay, we're gonna do this cards art, we're gonna understand the prioritization of information, and I called my colleagues at MoMA and I said, hey, you guys just designed your website. Can you talk to me about your card sort methodology? So they sent me a great methodology, and we decided to roll it out in the museum. We had 2 weeks, and we wanted to serve our audience who's coming to the AGO. So we have defined target segments at the AGO that are a mixture of sort of demographic and psychographic. We have something called our culturally active adults that form our large member base. They typically over 40. They visit culture and leisure attractions, tend to be more motivated by curiosity and learning. And then we have what we call the young cosmopolitans. They tend to be the downtown urban dwellers who live close to the AGO and see art as something they might do, but they're not sort of in the same category as our culturally active adults. And the young cosmopolitans tend to be a very diverse audience. So they're sort of contrasting, but they're both in large, sort of each of them comprise about 30% of our audience, the rest being tourists or families. So we really wanted to target those audiences, and we had no problem recruiting our over 40s. They were happy to come, get a lunch voucher, and do our card sort for an hour. But we couldn't for the life of us get any of our young cosmopolitans to participate. And this was driving my millennial researchers crazy because they were like, no one wants to do this with us. We even had vouchers for our sort of monthly party. But in the end, because we didn't have a lot of time, we ended up recruiting friends of friends. So the charge was to the researcher, go and find someone who's a friend of a friend, who is not a museum person, but who has the likelihood to come, who would fit in this category. So for us, that was a really helpful shortcut to be able to take, and it certainly gave us the data we needed to make the changes. So as we sort of knew, simplified everything, more images, and all people actually really wanted from our website was when we were open and what can I see. That was all we heard over and over and over again. So we really just sort of stripped everything back. And we don't actually have a picture of there's my user testing slide. We don't have something to show you of our website, but I would say go to ago.ca. Part of our goal was to make a mobile-first site. So that's really what you see is the sort of the central information. And being in the art gallery, it was a constant balance between image, white space, and information. And I think we managed to achieve that in a way that as we move our sort of some of the interpretation starts to go online, we actually now have a system that allows us to build that into the site that we now actually can show people, which we really couldn't do before, and we couldn't use it as a tool for interpretation. Another evaluation project we did centered around some design thinking, where we really unpacked some of the problems that visitors were having in the museum in terms of their ability to have a sort of a barrier-free experience in the museum. And one thing we did realize was that human engagement was so important to successful visits. So part of the goal of this CCMS system is to enable our staff to actually have access to content on the floor. Because right now, if you walk up to a guard or a volunteer and say, hey, I'm looking for the Kandinsky, we don't have any Kandinsky, but where would I find it? No one can answer that question. So part of what I want to be able to do is use the technology to put the tools in the hands of the people who can actually answer those questions. So part of the work that Mark mentioned that we'd be doing is that thinking ahead to the future, especially in Canada, the access to money to make a digital project is not really that easy to come by. There's some government granting systems we can go through, but you often need matched funding. So as part of our challenges is sort of making sure that we leverage what we already know before we go and build something. So part of this next phase of the work is to really think about what is it that different sized museums need, and then sort of come up with sort of a toolkit of experiences that they might want to deploy in their museums depending on their scale and where they're at with their sort of technology system. So yeah, that's that. Thank you. And I think we're happy to take questions if you're interested, and thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Keri, and thank you, Mark. We do have a good amount of time for questions here.
Hopefully you have some.
In the
think because Mark was new, can you hear me? Maybe I'll hop up here. Mark was new and I'm friendly, so I thought it would make, it made sense to me from my perspective, and I'd heard the project that they'd done at MoMA, and the interpretive planning team was involved in the redesign, and they did a much more sort of broader scope work on theirs, and so I thought, okay, well, at least what I can do is bring some of my team and some of our expertise to the process, and yeah, I think that's part of it. Maybe if Mark had been there for like 3 years longer, he would have been like, who are you? Why are you here? But yeah, I think that was probably, so newness helps, I would say. And I think there was a sense at the AGO that we needed somebody who's a bit of a tiebreaker to help move the change. So the leadership team also was invested in understanding what the visitors actually wanted. And so that those two things combined really helped. Sure.
Because of the user testing that Keri and her team had done, we had the justification to be able to make the changes that we wanted to do. And we really tried to take our own personal agendas and the personal agendas of the people across the gallery out of it and really focus on creating a visitor-first experience. And so by communicating these experiments to our leadership team, we had the backup that we needed to be able to go out to the various departments and say, no, you're not going to have a big, ugly picture and button on the homepage to be able to direct people. And then we also really worked on improving the navigation on the website. We have like a big drop-down menu that easily allows people to navigate to the various different sections on the website. And so in that way, we have been able to meet the user's needs. And then using slideshows and other types of tools on the homepage, we're able to compact things up so that instead of eating up tremendous real estate on the homepage, we're able to serve visitors or our colleagues' needs in other ways.
Have you had a chance to measure the engagements of online visitors with the new site, like in terms of visitations and in terms of the time spent online, in terms of the discoverability of different online spaces that you use in time? Did it change anything, like once you built a new site?
We've seen that the amount of mobile usage on our site has increased significantly, but in terms of engagement and the like, we're still working through all of that. We've actually just kicked off an analytics program in order to begin to answer those questions.
Yeah, in the back. Checkered, yes.
I was just wondering about your Jira choice. Jira makes multiple products for managing workflows and incoming requests. There's a service desk and then there's a project one. What made you choose the project one over a service desk if people are just asking for something to be done and it goes through a workflow and it's done?
We chose the, we didn't go the service desk route because the way that, because we had both the managing requests and as well as the new projects that we were working on, we really tried to arrange ourselves in a way where we could work in sprints in order to accomplish a lot of the work so that we were constantly pumping things out rather than just servicing the organization. So a lot of the web requests that we have that come in are now managed through a sprint process rather than the first come, first serve ticketing system.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the process of getting people all together on one platform. I don't know how big your team is, or how long you've been there, if you're willing to adapt a new system, and how that decision-making process went, and how long it took, and what kind of motivators you used to get everything.
It was different for each of the different tools that we used. The email marketing was a very difficult process. There was a lot of investment in the strategy and in the process, and very siloed on who does what. And so that one took, which was supposed to be an easy win when I started, ended up taking almost 10 months to be able to implement. And that really came with our new CEO, who wanted to change the way that we were communicating with our visitors. And when he blew all of that up, we made it prerequisite that we would change to MailChimp from Cake Mail, so that it would have a WYSIWYG editor in it, so that we can empower people to make the edits, so that the communication didn't need to go back and forth. With the content management system for the website, our focus was really on how can we build a system where we have a single source of truth, so that we don't need to edit content across multiple pages, but do it in one place. And that decision making really rested squarely within our digital department, and so we were able to make that change, as well as with the Jira system for managing tasks. That also rested with us, and it's a tool that we've been working with, is now been expanded to our web team, our media production and photo studio, and starting to have conversations with other groups across the organization to use it as well. And we're hoping that eventually we'd be able to migrate more and more departments into this tool. And if you're not aware, Jira has a not-for-profit license that's for their server instance of it, and so you can apply for that and get it for free of use. Any other questions?
Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you again, Keri and Mark.